Hello friends, and welcome back to my Vegan Test Kitchen. My name is Marissa and I am the one who's going to be testing out your suggested recipes and seeing how we can push the limits of vegan food. Today's video is sponsored once again by my brother. He found out that I wanted to do some spooky time recipes and he suggested that I try and make the crystal skin dumplings from Spirited Away. If you don't know what Spirited Away is, it is an animation. It's an anime movie by Hayao Miyazaki and it is just beautiful. It does take place in the spirit world, so it is very appropriate for our theming these next few months. And I've never tried really to make this kind of dumpling before. The difference between a regular dumpling and a crystal skin dumpling is that the crystal skin dumpling is kind of see-through. You can see into the contents a little bit of what's inside, whereas a regular dumpling is very opaque and you just know what's in it because that's what you ordered. The food in Spirited Away looks amazing and I'm very certain that most, if not all of it, is not vegan. However, it's going to be pretty easy to just stuff this dumpling with a different vegan variation. The inspiration for my filling actually came from another person who's also recommended a video before, Dragon Roll. She and I were talking and she mentioned a dish called Kare. I hope I'm saying it correctly. And she was telling me about it and it sounded really interesting, but also that she hasn't really seen a vegan version of it. So I thought I would make Kare crystal skin dumplings. I'm combining the two into one for this really what I'm hoping is going to be interesting and delicious video. If you haven't seen Spirited Away, go watch it. I recommend it. It's totally worth your time and it's really entertaining, really sweet movie. It's heartwarming. It's really good. Just go watch it. Because I want this to be executed as authentically as possible, I got a steaming basket so that I can actually steam my dumplings correctly over water and just have the most genuine and authentic version of what I can get. I also did have to make a few substitutes for the Kare filling because I couldn't find them, but I will be keeping the flavor profile as close as possible, so much so that I'm even using peanut butter, an ingredient that I am not a fan of, but I am trusting in the recipe. It's mixed with a bunch of other things that I do like, so I'm just going to trust it, I'm going to go with it, and I'm going to try it the way it's supposed to be. So let's get to the ingredients and see what's inside our crystal skin Kare dumplings. For the Kare filling, I did have to make a few substitutions because I couldn't find everything in the store. But if you know where to get these items that they originally come with, I'm going to link the original recipe down below so that you can make it exactly as it's supposed to be. The recipe calls for banana blossom bud, but I have to use artichokes instead because it's the closest substitution I can find. I'm also going to need oil. I'm using coconut oil, garlic, onion, salt, water, eggplant, vegetable broth, annatto powder mixed with 2 cups of water. You can either make your own toasted peanut butter or just get some peanut butter from the store. I'm also going to fill my dumplings with enoki mushrooms. And the ingredients for our crystal skin dumpling are very small, and they include potato starch, wheat starch, which I'm substituting for cornstarch because they didn't have wheat starch in the store, but also I already had cornstarch and they can be equally substituted for each other. And boiling water. I've never tried making either of these before, so I'm really excited to see how they turn out. I'm going to start by making my filling first because it's going to need some time to simmer, and also I can get my dough ready while it's cooling down. Before I really get started, I'm going to cut up my vegetables first. I'm just going to dice my onions, and I'm also going to medium dice my eggplant. Eggplant is something that you can eat in its entirety. Just cut off the top and the bottom. The seeds are actually good for you, so you don't have to worry about cutting out the center or de-seeding the eggplant. First thing we're going to do is prepare our banana blossoms or our artichoke. If you got it from a can, then just take it out and drain it. I'm going to take a large pot and start by adding my garlic and my oil into it so that it can start to get a little brown. We don't want it too brown because then it'll be burnt and overcooked. Just wait until it's fragrant and then add the onions on top of that. I'm going to saute the onions around as well until they get translucent. Now that my onions are soft, I'm going to add my eggplant, water, artichoke, vegetable broth, and the achete. I don't know how to say the pepper's name, but I'm just going to pronounce it achete. I'm going to add that mixture in there as well and stir it around and cover it so that it can simmer until the eggplant starts to get soft. While that's simmering, I'm going to get started on my dough because I know that it needs to set aside for a little bit before I need it. So I'm just going to add my cornstarch, my boiling water, and my potato starch into a bowl and mix it around and cover it for 5 minutes. After letting your dough sit for 5 minutes, it should be thick enough that you can knead it, but as you can see, the consistency of my dough is extra sloppy and extra wet, and I'm not sure what happened, which means we're gonna have to try to make this dough in another video. So today, unfortunately, I have to ditch the crystal skin idea and just do a regular dumpling dough. I will also link that down below, but all I'm going to need to do for that one is take some flour and water and salt, mix it in a mixing bowl. If you realize your flour mixture is too dry, just add a little bit more water until it gets to the consistency where it just comes together. And I'm going to take it out onto a counter and knead it until it becomes smooth and let it set aside for 20 minutes to rest. Now that my eggplant is soft, it's time to add in my peanut butter, and while I'm stirring, I'm also going to add in the rice flour water mixture to help thicken it up. We're just going to stir it until it's well combined and let it simmer for about another 10 minutes until it's thick and creamy. If you let it sit too long and it gets too thick, just add some more water or vegetable broth to thin it out and it'll be fine. All that's left now is to roll out my dumpling dough. I'm going to get it as thin as I possibly can and shape it into little pouches. I'm going to do 2 different shapes. I'm going to try doing a coin purse type shape and a triangle shape so that you can see different techniques on how to fold them however you like. For the coin purse dumplings, I'm going to take a little bit of my filling and put it in the center of my dough and bring the sides up together and pinch them at the top. Then I'm going to give them a twist to make sure that it's sealed and they're ready to go. For my triangle ones, I'm going to take 2 ends and pinch them together, and then take another corner and pinch it together, and then take the final corner and pinch it together and seal it with my fingers. If you remember from the last video that I had to roll something out, I don't have a regular rolling pin, so I'm actually using a tube from a plastic wrap that I had left over because it works just as well and I still haven't gotten a rolling pin yet. So get creative and recycle. If you don't have the proper materials, there's always a way you can work around it and get the job done. Now it's time to place them into my steamer over a pot of boiling water and let them steam for 6 to 8 minutes, no longer than 10, because we don't want them to get too soft and fall apart, especially since our filling is a bit moist and juicy and it can make the dough soggy. So yes, don't keep it in for too long or else they might fall apart. Okay everyone, moment of truth. Ooh, you can see that steam. I just opened the basket in which my dumplings were prepared. Hot and fresh. I'm so excited to try one of these dumplings. I would suggest serving it with rice, especially if you end up with extra filling left over. Having rice to serve that over, I think, is traditional, and it'll be good to have with your dumplings too. Hot. Alright, I'm gonna dig into this little buddy and see how he turned out. I was really concerned I wasn't gonna like the Kare filling because I'm not a fan of peanut butter and I can smell the peanut butter in it, but the nice thing is it's not an overwhelming taste of peanut butter. It actually blends really well with the other spices and things that I put in there. So for me, this is really palatable. This is actually really good, and I like it. I like it a lot. I think next time I try to do this, I'm gonna make my dumpling the size of them bigger so I can get more filling in there. And this was a loose filling. It was harder to wrap than, say, something that's stuffed with a vegetable mixture or something like that, you know? So that made it a little tricky, but I do still like the filling. I do like the way that this tastes. I'm actually really gonna enjoy eating that soup later with some rice and the rest of these dumplings. This actually turned out pretty well, other than the fact that my crystal skin didn't turn out. I wasn't able to achieve that. But you know what? That means I'm just gonna have to do another video, a Ko-Fi exclusive perhaps, in which I get it right. I'm gonna test it and work it over and over until I get it correct, and I can share it with you guys, the proper technique in order to make it. Thank you so much for joining me for this video and sticking around for another test in the kitchen. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the button down below and the notification bell so that you know when I post new videos, and if you make a suggestion, you'll know when I post your video. You can also help support my vegan test kitchen by checking us out on Ko-Fi. I post exclusive videos like I just mentioned, as well as other content, photographs, recipes, that sort of thing. The Test Kitchen Ko-Fi is to improve our equipment as far as cameras and cooking supplies goes, and I appreciate any support whatsoever that y'all can give. Don't forget to comment down below if you've got any tips for me and you know how to do the crystal skin dumpling, or you have the perfect recipe. Let me know. I'd love to see it so we can work through this together. And if you want to see any other kinds of food or decoration for this spooky season, comment down below as well, and I'll give it a look and try to make those too. But for now, thank you for joining me for this video. I'm going to get spirited away myself, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.